Just as long as we're not talking too violently over each other, then I'm fine. That's only ever been my key is. Because I noticed a couple of the episodes, I did somehow the time sync I fucked up, and that was a nightmare episode to edit, and I'm just like, yeah, fuck video, please, burn in hell. Yeah, no, for real though, we should just start stealing from Augie. Start doing his stream for him. So, real quick complaint. How is it that Augie has 2,000 subscribers and he's getting 500 live viewers? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not jealous. Like, it's actually kind of just impressed. But I thought live streaming was like reserved for Twitch. Like, that was kind of the big thing. But that ratio is actually kind of insane. To be like 1 in 4 of your subscribers is watching your daily live streams. That's really impressive. And I'm astounded because they just killed YouTube Gaming, so their live streams are just like bombing on or blowing up on YouTube now. What the fuck?
I don't know if that's what it is or not. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I mean, more power to them. I don't know what exactly it is that they're doing that's really working so well. I don't get to watch as much anymore because of just the time. But yeah, they're really doing well. It's it's insane.
Yeah, fuck you, Bo Blacks. No, I'm legit. I'm happy because they're doing well.
Yeah.
The only thing that annoys me is I'm like, I can't watch the replays. They're 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
Make the damn show shorter. Why do people have to do? Oh, I'm gonna do a 4-hour show. Everyone's gonna watch that. No, fuck you. Do 1 hour to 2 hours. That's the normal amount of time for people.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever I start doing a live stream, I end up just going until I feel like getting off. Nobody usually watching anyway, so it's usually just kind of me just sitting there with my thoughts for a couple hours. I just kind of leave it recording just because, you know, if something crazy happens, I have the clip.
So, I actually have a question, just based off your opinion. I'm thinking about doing like a daily or bi-daily cooking live stream, like at 5 o'clock. Does anybody care about those? Is that like a thing?
Dude, there's people that watch people sleep on live streams. There's a market for everything somehow. Even if you put on a dress and pretend to be a thick girl, and just shoot camera down like neck down, and then just every once in a while just have like a kawaii giggle, and that's it.
But no, I'm like, I was watching something yesterday, and they were talking about how eating streams on Twitch are like blowing up right now.
Oh, mukbang is streaming now?
Yeah, people fucking stream it. I'm like, I've never understood mukbang. I understand eating channels. I don't understand mukbang.
All right, I've been saving this joke, but I'm going to use it now anyway. Has anyone ever asked you to chew louder at the table?
Oh God,
honey, could you please chew louder? We're all trying to eat here. Can you please chew a little bit louder? Thank you. Couldn't hear you across the table. I can only just
think of the Whoa Vicky, where she's with that one other girl, and they're eating like that king crab thing, and it's just the slurping and the noise and the chewing. Yeah, I like on Instagram. Like, fucking Vicky, shut your fucking mouth. Shut it now. What is wrong with you people?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that every time she talks at all, because she's always chewing gum or something too.
Oh, God.
She's got like I don't know if she's ever been from New York, but she's got like that like stereotypical New Yorker thing where I'm chewing on my gum.
Nah, I'm done with them. Fucking, it's fake outrage. It's fake culture. It's fake people. It's fake Instagram. It's fake. It's all fake. Where is a single real person?
The more you look at the internet, the more you realize almost entirely it is fake.
Bullshit. Bull to the fucking shit. iDubbbz is a perfect example of, like, real. Like, he puts on a persona, but then when you watch the behind-the-scenes stuff, it's like, oh yeah, no, he's kind of the same. He's a little bit more chill, but he's the same guy.
Yeah, he's actually amplified in character, and that's it.
But, like, it's not a differentiation. When you go and you watch, like, Lil Tay, it's like, no, it's like 8 people behind her saying, turn it up to 50, and then it's like, I just want to go to bed, mommy. It's like, what the fuck? It's not real. Oh, you go seeing all the Kim Kardashians, and then you go see the freaking Nicki Minaj's and the Cardi B's, and I'm like, who gives a fuck? They're just swindling you out of fucking $3. Give it up now, you little fucking pay piggy. Give me your $3 for my new song. Let's go.
Did you see that video where somebody was like interviewing Kim Kardashian at their house, and at one point they asked her like, "What's the one thing that you wish people would stop doing?" or something like that, and they said, "Making a big deal out of my butt." And this is the same woman who like 2 years ago was still last year even was still taking pictures, like professional pictures, primarily around her buttocks. Like you can't have a professional photographer come in, focus the camera on the size of your butt, and spend most of your career making a big deal about your butt, and then turn around and say, "I wish people wouldn't make a big deal about my big butt."
Yeah, well, you know, it's like Belle Delphine. If you acknowledge that this is a joke and this is what you're doing to pay your bills, then it stops. Like the cash stops flowing in when the second you acknowledge it. The second like Belle Delphine actually does porn, like it's done. The money train's done. And so that's why I've always respected Kim in that sense. It's like, yeah, she won't stop it. She keeps going. She's gonna keep writing this until she's fucking 50, because that's what's gonna pay the bills. And then when like every giant celebrity, when their 15 minutes or their 15 years dies down, they'll do the next porn tape, the secondary release with Ray J or whoever the fuck, and then they'll go round 2, and then they'll have another 15 minutes, and then they're gone. But the fucking Kardashians, I gotta say though, I do like Kim for getting her law degree. I'm like, holy shit, man, that was really, really like a good human being type thing to do, man. Yeah, like what Kim and Kanye are doing, I'm actually giving mad respect, because I'm like, fuck. They cashed this cow, they milked it as much as they can, and now they're like, all right, well, we're gonna keep doing it, but we're gonna change it up a little bit. And I'm like, at least they're doing some good out of it.
I just don't like that so many stupid people follow them and think that they're doing like they praise them over stupid minor stuff.
Oh yeah, you're so brave for releasing your no kimono line. It's so brave.
Kylie,
bitch, she is
a billionaire. Such a good job making $1 billion on your own without any help from your family whatsoever. Even though most of your money came from a TV show you were on in high school, all of your high school years. Like,
I'm gonna disagree with you, man.
No,
I think Kylie was one of the smarter ones, where she said, okay, this TV thing makes me, decent buck. Like, this gets me, like, my 10 million. This gets me my 100 million. But I can make 900 million going over here in the beauty and makeup stuff.
But what I'm saying is you can't be self-made if you were just by default involved in something that made you, $50 million or whatever to start, and that's where you started. She started with that money. She's not self-made. Okay, what did she do to get on the TV show?
Self-made doesn't necessarily need to equate to having $0 to make a successful business.
Okay. So 10 million as a starting point is self-made. She was being billed as a self-made millionaire. No. Before she was a billionaire, they were billing her as a self-made millionaire. I never heard disagree with the idea that you can go from a millionaire to a billionaire and you can say that they're a self-made billionaire when her fame and her already existing modeling career and stuff that came from the TV show that she did not get on because of any of her own talent or anything, just because it was her sister's show.
So here's the thing. You can't. Self-made is such a kind of misnomer here, where, let me put it this way. Unless somebody came in and I'm talking about her beauty line. I'm like, the TV show thing is, you can't argue that was self-made. I'm like, that was the handout.
Hold up. No. Don't you dare try and say her beauty line makes her self-made. She didn't.
Yes, it does.
Okay, how? But wait. But where did her reputation or popularity or anything come from for the makeup line? She didn't make the makeup herself. She didn't start advertising the makeup herself yet. She was already advertising other people's makeup. And she could only do that because of her popularity that came from the TV show that made her first millions.
Well, you could argue then any Instagram person is not self-made.
No, because they started at the bottom. They worked their way up, for the most part. They weren't already rich and then became more famous because they were rich. I'm saying she was on a TV show and modeling like professionally in high school because of her existing connections and money.
I can agree, but the two aren't the same. They aren't. I'm telling you straight up. You can't sit there and say that, oh, you can't be a self-made billionaire selling products and marketing products and doing the manufacturing, the shipping, and the distribution. You can't be self-made because priorly you were famous or popular on a TV show. Self-made is like, is me saying, oh, I'm starting this business or I'm buying this business and I'm going to take it from its cash flow of $0 and bring it up to $1 billion.
See, now you're saying $0. Now you're saying a starting point is $0.
Well, even if she bought a company, like a good example was like it's Shaquille O'Neal. Like if you ever look, and I think it was another Lakers.
Okay, well let me bring this up. Let me bring this up. All of her family members were already doing makeup and style.
Right.
So you're telling me that you don't think any of their connections had any influence? You don't think any of their connections were the ones that were pushing her, making the makeup or anything like that? So you think that Kylie went and did her own deals completely separate from the companies her sisters and all were working with?
So this is where I lack the information because I don't really care enough to look into it. But yeah, I would say this is where the self-made argument is the actual argument.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's not the one thing. It's like the entire thing. That's why I'm saying like the money, the influence, and the connections. Where do they all come from? They all come from the show, and her popularity came from that. Everything came back from the show and her family. The only thing that we don't know is where the makeup brand deals came from. Like who actually makes the stuff and all that.
And that's what dictates the self-made part.
But they wouldn't have been talking to her without the popularity she gained from being on a show that she did nothing to get on.
I'm gonna disagree.
But live in a house with her family.
No. That's where you're wrong. That's called venture capital, my friend. If you have money to put down into a business, it doesn't matter where it came from. That's how you start a business. You gotta have the money to start it.
Right, but the money had to come from somewhere. She had no info. Okay, my point is, how can you say that without millions of followers that come from just your TV show that you were born into, so to speak? How can you say that the money you have millions? Yeah, you have millions. Congratulations, you have millions. Let's say you even were born with the millions. All right, they're just native to part of you.
Right.
You take that and you put it into something. Yes. But it still needs fuel to make everything go besides money.
And this is
where
exactly
did the influence come from?
That's what I'm saying. That's not the where it came from. Isn't what the self-made definition comes down to. What comes down to is, let me put it this way, like Jeffree Star is a great example of this. You take somebody like Jeffree Star and you're like, okay, well, they're popular for makeup and beauty and all this stuff, but then they go, I'm gonna start my own makeup instead of using other people's. So then Jeffree Star in this case, because I don't know exactly with Chloe, is that you get him going, I'm making the deals, I'm going to the manufacturing plants, I'm doing the warehouse stuff, I'm in charge because I run this business. If Chloe's doing the same thing, which again, I don't necessarily know, that is being self-made.
Kylie.
You can't just... Kylie, yes. You can't just put $10 million and say, turn this into $1 billion, please, just use my image to do that. No, you have to be the one who dictates how you grow that portfolio. So that there is why I say self-made. Now, if she hired out, like, oh yeah, Chloe or Kim knew this one, and then Chloe knew that one, and then Bruce knew, or Kayla, whatever the fuck her name is, they knew that one. Yeah, that's not self-made. That's having other people venture your business and you grow it together, and you're just the face of it. But I'm telling you, I'm like, the way you become a self-made individual is you sit down and you are the one who dictates the choices and the actions that the business does. And I think, I don't know, that's what... wow, I forget their names so often. I don't care anymore.
The only reason I know is because this one everybody made a big deal about being self-made.
Yeah. Oh, Kylie. Yeah. Like, yeah. But that's how you become a self-made individual. That's how it's done. Nobody can just tell you, hey, this is how you make a business successful. That just doesn't exist. So self-made's you going, okay, well, I got a lot of money. I opened up a makeup line. I have to make it successful now. That's self-made. Unless you hired people to do all the work for you, in which case that's not self-made in my opinion.
I don't know. Right, I'm gonna have to hard disagree with you on that, just because it's hard for me to assume that she didn't have use her connections, because that's just smart business.
This is the hill we die on, goddammit. Who's right? Was it Khloe? That's what ruined our friendship. It's fucking Khloe Kardashian. That
this
fucking
isn't a
bitch.
hill. This is Kim's butt.
Oh god, that fucking ass is ridiculous. I'm gonna have implants. Sure.
I would not be surprised.
It's just that it's one of those forever arguments where you're like, she doesn't have implants, and then the diehard fans say she doesn't have implants, and every rational human being on the planet's like, yeah, she clearly does.
It's funny how many celebrities are worried about their plastic surgery getting exposed.
Just fucking. There was this one video I was watching during the Rooster Teeth podcast where they were doing this thing where you have to look for this. I'm telling you, it will fuck your life up. Actors who intentionally knock out all of their teeth to get denture replacements. The best one that I saw that fucked my life up was Ben Affleck. Like, if you look at his teeth when he was like first starting off as an actor, they're like these little dinky little teethies, like little baby teeth almost. And now he's got this full set of pearly whites. I'm like, and you can find a bunch of actors who have done it. I'm like, it fucking ruins your life. You're like, these people went to a dentist or orthodontist or whoever the fuck and said, these don't look good. Take them out. Like,
see, that I believe, though.
Fucking that's crazy to me.
I believe it because like people in Hollywood, like especially like back when Ben Affleck would have done that, I could very much see that, because back then especially Hollywood was even more fickle, because I'm assuming this is like early 2000s,
probably.
So I could very much see that, because like, oh, you would have perfect star quality. You'd be a perfect leading man if only. It's just those teeth. I could totally see that being said in a what do you call it? Audition.
Casting.
Yeah.
Audition. No, it's just one of those age-old things where you're just like, celebrity's gonna celeb, and then when one of their fucking tits or their ass implants explode, we'll all be laughing, and then it'll be business as usual. Oh god, I can't.
Speaking of celebrities, how was your trip to VidCon, rubbing shoulders with all the YouTube celebs?
Yeah. Sure. Rubbing shoulders, we'll call it. No, everyone is awkward as fuck, and I was as well. Do not get me wrong. So, yeah, VidCon sucks. The simplest way to say it was like, I severely underestimated the child to adult ratio. You laugh. I went with that.
I know. I predicted it. I figured it would be bad, especially because of TikTok and stuff.
I am a full-grown adult.
Though.
I am a full male adult. I don't think I've seen more children in my entire life than I have that week. And I'm like, look, I get it. I'm the weirdo. I'm 27. I go on YouTube and I watch people talk about 14-year-olds who have false rape allegations. I'm the weirdo. I get it. Why were there no fucking adults? Does nobody care about YouTube? Is this like only the creators that go? Those are the only ones that care? What the fuck is wrong with people?
I think because VidCon has kind of developed this I don't want to say stigma, but there's this idea around VidCon that kids tend to like the most. Who are like, this is the place to go, and then adults normally it's like, yeah. Every time I see a video, I just see kids. I don't want to go, dude. I don't want to go to that. And then the only people that really seem like they're interested in it when I'm like on social media that are adults are all people that are like, oh, all my friends are at VidCon. Like, they don't care about going to the con itself.
Yeah, exactly. That's really the only reason to go, I feel, as an adult and a creator.
Especially if you're involved in the commentary community, if you're following the commentary community at all, and you saw any of the videos posted by like Wang or anybody like that, like, freaking Vega was everywhere during that. Vega was in almost every picture I saw of VidCon from commentators.
But by the way, fuck you, Vega, you bastard. So I walked up to him, and I gave him like the very most clearly defined, like, I want to shake your hand, good sir. You don't know me off of our few Twitter interactions, but I would like to shake your hand. And he gave me this look of like, why are you coming up and holding your hand out at me? And I just like, I had that internal dialogue of like, oh God, what do I do? And it was like the fucking worst 5 or 6 seconds. It was short, but it was like 5 seconds of internal like, oh God, what do I do? Do I leave the hand here? Do I take it away?
Did you leave the hand there and just walk past him like you were going to the next person?
Oh, no. I left my hand there. I asserted myself in front of Vega. I'm like, Vega, it's me, Kyle. We've talked a few times for the Catch 33 podcast. It's me. He's like, oh, the pantsless Bale dude. I'm like, yeah. He's like, hi, how you doing? I was like, good. Nice to see you here. And that was it.
Oh, man.
Fuck you, Vega. You made it awkward, you son of a bitch.
I know I would be awkward, especially because I've never met anyone. I know I'm more awkward in person, so I know it'd be awkward. But yeah, I've never met anybody from YouTube in Raleigh, so I know I'd be awkward, especially. But I still want to go.
I'm real sad. I've been holding the story from you because I'm real sad about it. So it was like the whole squad of like Elvis and Vega and Nakey Jakey, and then I saw Tro, and then I went up to Tro, and I'm like, oh hey, how you doing? You know, thanks for replying to my DMs. I appreciate you trying to help and all that jazz. Because I was basically trying to hit up the guys and be like, hey, I realize you guys don't really know me, but if you guys go out to a bar, I'd love to buy you guys around and chat your ear up for a minute. You know, like try to like talk with them and also possibly try to sell my shit, you know, a little bit.
Right.
And I was like, oh yeah, you know, me and Jake, we're doing this little podcast right now. And the first thing he asked was, oh, is Jake here? I was like, no, he's with this kid in Jersey. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm real bummed too. I would have loved him to be here. That was the first fucking thing he said, and I was like, I know, I feel sad now.
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm not. I told him, I'm like, oh yeah, you know, I love your little thing, and me and Jake, for some reason, always end up talking about you on our podcast. He's like, oh, is he here? I was like, I don't know. Huh. Sorry.
That's cool.
But, no, I had the most awkward interaction ever. So we were at the Michael Reeves and William Osmond panel. Which, by the way, those guys... I hate VidCon and how they, like, prop up all these, like, zombie unicorn types who are nobodies. Like, who the fuck... Nobody... You saw how few people were... You saw how few people are at these panels. Meanwhile, Michael Reeves and William Osmond are kind of like somewhat surprise guests, and their whole fucking like Q&A stadium is basically packed with people.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck you. Get these people in more.
Dude, I'm telling you, William Osmond and Michael Reeves, their kind of content is going to storm the platform soon.
I think they need their own basically TV show. I think they need to be on Netflix.
Those two should do a Mythbusters 2. But have it on Comedy Central and have it hosted by them.
Oh, speaking of that, you see Gus Johnson's newest fucking thing on Comedy Central?
Mm-hmm.
In one day, 600,000 views. I'm like...
He put out a new one today.
Oh, I just missed that one.
It was a completely different thing. It was still funny, but that video was so good. Apparently that series, though, the mini mock, I went and scrolled through just looking like, okay, none of their stuff does very well. That did really well. What about the other mini mock series?
Exactly.
Episodes? And that series in particular does really well, but the fact that Gus Johnson was on there and it did that well, it speaks very well for his working with Comedy Central. And I love the fact that he's getting into stand-up and stuff now too. So I cannot wait to see where Gus Johnson goes.
No. If anything, Comedy Central has had the fucking worst last few years and down spike. Like, they are going wokenomics, they're going down the shitter. The stand-up comedians they put on there are shit. The fucking best move they've made as of late is Gus Johnson. Man, that was smart for once.
They're moving more and more into online influencers, it seems like, and I think it's a very smart move.
It's really good.
With Gus getting further and further into stand-up and other forms of entertainment, I'm definitely very excited to see what this evolves into, because I can't see it not going somewhere bigger.
I agree. I just think the one problem that I know is going to happen, and I will put my fucking testicles up and say, they're going to look at Gus Johnson being successful, and they're going to go, oh, Gus Johnson was so successful, we barely pay him anything. Well, why don't we throw a little bit more money and get somebody big? Who should we get? Oh, the Gabby Show. They're great. Or who the one Spanish bitch. Like, I know they're gonna do it. I know it. In my heart of hearts, they're gonna hire some funny 5-second Instagram person. They're gonna fuck everything up.
Can you imagine that? Like a Lele Pons Comedy Central show? Can you imagine how bad that would be?
It would be magnificent, and I would watch every episode as I share with my friends and go, look at what these fucking idiots at Comedy Central did. Look at Viacom. Come on, they run VidCon. They can't seem to get shit together.
Tosh.0 would just be doing commentary videos about the entire episode. Like every week, tune in for the new episode of Lele Pons show. And then later that week, tune in for the episode of Tosh.0 where he rips apart the entire episode.
Tosh comes on YouTube. He's like, look, I just wanted to make a YouTube channel just for this. Come see what my boss did. They hired this dumb fucking bitch. Oh, God. Man. No, speaking of that, actually, real quick on the side, I'm real excited because I'm kind of making a slight announcement to a certain extent. At some point, I'm intending on moving. Girlfriend got a job. I'm getting a job out in a different area. I'm not saying where, you fucking stalkers. But I'm going to basically find, and I'm asking this for you and then anybody who leaves a comment. Do you have any suggestions on what the most mind-numbing, physically least demanding job possible is? Because what I'm going to do is... I'm going to try to find a job at like one of these like storage places, like long-term storage, like you rent a unit, put your shit in there, leave it there for 7 years. I'm going to try to find a job like that where you're basically doing nothing all day. And then once I've actually got like a full-time job doing something like that, the most amazing thing that came from VidCon was this invigoration to say, fuck it. I'm doing it. I'm hunkering down. I'm putting everything into YouTube once I get an actual stable job. I'm like... Girlfriend's making money. I'm going to be next to so many college towns so I can find video editors and possibly go back to school to like take video editing classes myself. Mm-hmm. I'm fucking doing it. So I'm like, I need to find a job though that's like, I don't care what the pay is. It just needs to be the fucking, the dumbest, least intense job in the world.
I mean, if I had any ideas, trust me, I wouldn't be broken and in massive credit card debt right now. But, yeah, I mean, like, editing is probably a good way if you can find like a small niche that people need edited, like doing meme edits and stuff, like that kind of thing. But I can't think of much.
I got to avoid editing. I hate editing. I'm not great at it. I can do it. I'm not good at it, but I'm not bad at it either. And problem with editing is just that I get too perfectionist. And so I really, like, the second I'm making enough money, which is why I say, like, at a college town, I'm going to find somebody to pay to do editing, basically, because I just can't stand editing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten more into editing meme, like, trying to, like, find meme-worthy stuff and editing stuff together just for the heck of it. I actually would have had my video out like a couple days earlier, but I spent a full night. I was supposed to be editing my own video, editing this dumb gag where Tipster ended up. I was watching him while I was looking for stuff to make fun of on Amazon, and I sent him. I mentioned I found like an album, like an audio album on Amazon of orgasm sounds, and he's like, "I don't believe you." Posted in chat. I posted in chat and he listened to it live. So he's like doing my old Amazon show practically live. And so I ended up just like recording the entire thing and editing that down for the heck of it. Like stupid little stuff like that's fun to do. Like if it's just gonna be like 3 hours of work, like no one's paying me for it though. So it's like I don't care enough to put more into it. If I was being paid for it, I probably would end up doing that though, overworking it and thinking too much about it and getting all perfectionist. When you're just doing it for fun, it's completely different.
There's some people who can do both. There's some people who can look at it like, oh, it's a job, and not some people who are like, oh, this is where I really fucking get my bread and butter out there. Yeah, that's it. But let me put it this way: if I'm gonna take a professional YouTuber, the first thing I'm telling them, as like a professional, is hire an editor. You need the ability to just focus on being the vision and the creative talent that's driving it forward. The editing process it's a tweak. There is a style to it. But let me put it this way. When you're watching Game of Thrones, what are you watching? Are you watching the actors or are you watching the editors? Yeah. Now, granted, that's a really brash, quick understatement, but the editors tell the story. But here's the thing, you can tell an editor how to tell a story. Their style and their twerk obviously will have a decent amount of impact, but just hire somebody. Your life will be so much freer.
Yeah, there's a little nuance to it, but you're right. For the most part, just having an editor would save you so much time. As long as you can afford it, it would really it would enable you to do so much more, because you wouldn't have to think about doing the stuff that kind of makes you bored or whatever. And you could even have somebody just do like most of the editing for you, and then you go through and just do touch-up editing. I know a lot of people do that. I actually know a guy who I'm not going to say anything about how it worked out, but they don't work together now. But he edited like 2 videos for Elvis, and the one he had sent it to him and ended up getting re-edited and uploaded. But like I would imagine that's normal that a video would get like a few touch-up edits, not a full re-edit like this was.
Right.
But yeah, like it makes total sense. Like, I mean, the thing that sucks, I would imagine as an editor, if you edit a video for somebody and then there's touch-up edits, I would imagine maybe you feel like that's a little bit of a letdown. But as somebody that edits my own stuff all the time, and I make creative decisions constantly about it, I could totally see why somebody, like, if I send a video to somebody, they might be like, yeah, I don't like that creative decision, so I'm going to go this way with it. Makes perfect sense to me.
And there's that disparity. I don't remember who said it, but it's basically you have to take somebody. So when I started my job basically said, you're an idiot. We have to train you for a month to learn how to type buttons on a keyboard again. And I think that's the same thing you have to do with a video editor. Is go, look, you know you're doing, yeah, sure, but you're an idiot. You don't know my style. So for a month, you're just going to basically watch me, and then you can start learning to take over the mantle while I'm basically your supervisor for 2 months. After that 3rd month, you can spread your own wings at that point. You really have to. People are too eager to just be like, oh, I found an editor, and then 3 edits later, like, I don't want to work with you anymore, bye. Like, what? Yeah. No, fucking train them.
Yeah, you have to actually work with them when you work with them.
You have to, and that's kind of one of the big bummers, is that one of my editors that I found, I paid the guy, he does really good work, but he's in India. And that time disparity just fucked everything up. It's so hard, but I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm still keeping contact, but it was like, there was this communication that had to keep going back and forth. Where I was like, well, I like this, I didn't like that, I like this, didn't like that. And after a couple times, I'm like, he started to see kind of where I was going, and he kind of got it together.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many things have been messed up in terms of like my stuff with YouTube and people on YouTube and all, because of time zones. Like I had a podcast going. I think I mentioned it a couple times on the show before. Seriously Informal, we were doing Ramen, me, and a guy named Make Me Believe, and that was so much fun. But we only had 1 hour window a week where our times synced up where we could possibly even record it, and it was really late for Ramen, so it was really rough on him. So it was just like, yeah, we just couldn't find a time to make it work. It was so much fun. And yeah, time zones really suck the life out of things if you can't find people in the right time zone.
Yeah, and that's why I'm dreading the idea of eventually like getting third or guest host in here. I'm just like, oh fuck, man, that's gonna be the worst part. I got a feeling.
I mean, I would think if we were doing, if we changed it to being more like multiple shows, right? So like plan on one episode a week, but then every once in a while we'll have time to do a second show in that week or whatever, because there's more news going on that week to talk about or something. And then if you had 3, you wouldn't necessarily need all 3 on every show.
Oh yeah,
because then you could just do, all right, well, us 2 can do this week, us 2 can do this next week, whatever, you know what I mean? I mean, like, you wouldn't need to have a set group necessarily.
I think, no joke, and I was joking about it, but I'm like, I think Augie, what they're doing is kind of proof that that formula just works a lot better on YouTube. The problem is that, like, you kind of have a scheduled dedication. You're saying every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we will be here at the same time talking about shit. We're going to have usually the same people. We're going to have a Discord. Like, there's kind of a format to it, and it gets boring real fast. But I'm like, I got to be honest, I'm like,
it up.
No, the viewers are coming, and they are there, and like, yeah, if you're obviously entertaining, people will come watch. Mm-hmm. I was just astounded because I was kind of under the impression that it was like, no, podcast format's kind of podcast format. Like, there's a style to it, and you kind of have to stick to it because that's what's been, tried and true. But no, like, the live streaming just feels different somehow.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like when you record a video without face cam. When you record a video with face cam, all of a sudden you start talking slower and you're more conscious about how you're physically acting, and you have to like pay attention to the camera, and there's a lot of stuff that changes subconsciously. It's really, really odd, because even when I was doing like gameplay videos, even if I wasn't looking at the camera or something, I was looking at a screen and playing a game, I would notice that what I was saying was completely different, like tone, and I wasn't acting the same way. It's so strange. But it's just how it is. For some reason, like if you're live, the same thing happens. Like you because you know subconsciously that there's no edit. If you say something dumb, you have to, either retract it or correct it or whatever, depending on what you're talking about. Well, I mean, if you're talking about something serious and you say like you make a false allegation by accident, just for example.
No. I gotta be honest here, because I'm like, I think people are getting too wrapped around that type of thought. I am dyslexic. I don't fucking understand how the last 3 years my brain doesn't function the same way when it does anymore when I'm speaking, because what comes out of my face comes out faster than I can think it now at this point. I am speaking so fast, or so much information's coming out that I just, like, I'm trying to think of the word. Like, what's a word? It's a word that begins with A-U. It vaccines. Autist. That's what I am. I'm an autist at this point. Like, it takes a hard, long time to get out of my face. So, like, when you're live, I feel like the key you just have to do is just be truthful. Just tell the truth. And if you can't think of the word, just be like, like, the word I'm thinking is like this. And then the chat just goes fucking wild trying to guess what stupid ass words you're trying to think of. And you're just like, no, not retarded, not moronic, Hyojin. Like, something stupid like that, where you just kind of have to force the words out. And then you're fine. Well, and then at that point, all you have to do is be entertaining. Yeah.
The problem with that when you're talking about stuff like this is, any slight slip of the tongue, like if you say things in the wrong manner, people will start taking it as to mean something else. Like I used to stream more back on YouTube, when I was using my old channel primarily, like 2 years ago, when I was using my old gaming channel as my main. I had a few friends that would like come into the chat, and like they knew where I stand on things, but they would like they loved getting me talking about like deeper topics. But a lot of times they would be things that were connected to, political stuff. And the problem is, it's very easy for you to say something and have it sound a different way than you intend when you're not having time to really think through what you're saying. And if you're not streaming with somebody, you don't have time to think about that stuff. That's why I'm saying, like,
I'll give you that. And I think that's a smart part where Tommy gets it, where he goes 60 minutes. That's it. And that gives you enough time so that you have the time to focus and think about it. Mm-hmm. But I think, in all honesty, you can't be distracted. If you're distracted by, Twitter is open, or there's a game playing, or there's like 7 different things on my screen, yeah, I would agree with you. But if you are an individual who can train yourself to pay better attention, just in general, just to keep the focus, not so much. I think it's an entire person-to-person thing, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, if you told me right now, like, get off your computer and do this same exact podcast face-to-face at a table, we'd be having completely different types of communication than we are right now. So I think the same applies, I think, for live streaming and trying to, like, when you're getting into those conversations, those debates where you get the eye contact, you get that emotion, you can register the tones. you don't get that over the internet as much. And it just, as hard as you try, it's never going to come out the same way as having a face-to-face conversation with somebody.
Yeah, even over webcam, it's completely different.
Yeah, it's just, you lose humanity when you do stuff like that. It's actually a really interesting kind of phenomenon where you basically are just saying, we're going to kind of just stop talking quite the same as humans because we're trying to be entertaining. It's kind of interesting.
See, and that's just it. It's like, me personally, I always try to be entertaining when I'm talking about stuff. But for some reason, it's like that's what I'm saying. It's like subconscious. Like I don't realize I'm doing things differently. But it's been that way the entire time. And the more I do this stuff, the more I notice it more and more when I go back and watch footage back and stuff. Like on the podcast, I mean, granted, this podcast I've probably been a lot more clear and a lot more energetic than I have in any of the previous podcasts, because around the time we started the podcast, I was already dealing with a lack of medication. And now that I'm back on my medication, I'm thinking more clearly and I'm a happier boy. But that being said, I still can feel certain things that I'm doing right now during this conversation. I can hear certain things the way I'm saying them and how I'm trying to direct my thoughts. And I can tell it's not the way I normally do things, but I'm not doing that on purpose. It's so weird. It's subconscious. Right. It's not like I wish there was like a case study on it that I could actually reference, and I've never actually seen one about specifically why you behave differently over the phone or over this or over that, aside from like the argument about social media making people, like, oh, you're anonymous and stuff like that, which is true, but that doesn't pertain to like this.
A lot of what I've been seeing online is that it's non-verbal communication and eye contact, which kind of just falls under non-verbal. But anyway, like the ability to tell when I'm annoyed or agitated is far greater than anything you can say over like a text message, because like right now, what am I doing? I'm fucking with my hands, and I have this little remote in my hands. So I'm thinking about having this conversation, but I'm looking at this, and I'm like, well, I can't tell what you're doing on the screen. I only have your tone to go off of, which is a verbal communication. So when you remove nonverbal, like me being distracted by my little thing right now, I'm more likely to get distracted and not focus in your conversation as much, or register those little tones or those little hints you're giving off when you're talking. So
yeah, that's fair.
You kind of are speaking to captivate, and then you also have to listen to anticipate. Whereas when you speak, you just have to speak, and all you have to do is look at the other person to kind of pick up the cues. That's a lot easier to do than try to like register every word they're saying. Like, they sound a little angry there. Were they angry? Should I go on that? And like, that's a lot of psychoanalysts. Yes, psychoanalysts you have to do. Psychoanalysts. And I gotta be honest, I'm like, it's real fucking difficult, and I'm usually surprised when those talk show guys can do it, because you just kind of look, like, if you ever watched one of them who are like professional talk shows, like even Destiny, like Tommy, like any of them, you kind of realize that they don't treat their viewers who are talking to them or calling into them like humans. They're just numbers to a certain extent. You kind of become a depersonalized human to them, because they're just like, oh yeah, sure, you're giving me your opinion, robot number 47AB, like, but you're not treated like an individual. Whereas if you had that conversation with somebody face to face at a table, I'm like, it'd be vastly different. You need that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy the stuff that we don't think about that we do subconsciously, or the things that really affect us at a small level. Small things that affect us at a large scale.
Yeah. Like, I think it's kind of important for anybody who's like a real big established YouTuber to kind of, in a weird sense, get an office and work with other YouTubers in that office. Because when you just kind of disassociate to that level, like, I met I'm Alex at VidCon. I had a quick conversation with him, real short, but like, even though he kind of knew me, which somehow he recognized me too, I was astounded by that. He was like, oh yeah, how you doing, Kyle? I was like, wait, what? He's like, oh yeah, I recognize you from your Twitter picture. I was like, oh. But like, as soon as we had the conversation, I was just like, I could very easily tell it was like, he wanted to have a conversation real briefly, but he's just trying to process. Like, you're even though I kind of know you, you're a fan. Here, we'll say these things, answer the questions. Next person, hey, you're this person. Like, you just disassociate, and it's very, very hard. And even for somebody like us, we're just talking and doing a podcast or something like that. It does do a lot of psychological damage. So when you say you're having trouble with, like, when you're off your meds, I'm like, I couldn't imagine being on your meds and still being able to be successful at it, because it's like you can't do it. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, like in my case, just in case, I'm gonna have to make a video about it at some point. I just don't want it to. I just got to figure out how to do it without it making it sound like woe is me. I have a problem. But yeah, I've got a thyroid condition. My thyroid barely functions at all. So, and I've been finding out more and more over the last 6 months. I've already known for about a year and a half that I have it, but I ran out of medication. I was prioritizing some other bills and stuff and couldn't afford the medication. So, I just decided to hold off getting it, not realizing how bad things were going to get. The symptoms for thyroid failure, well, I shouldn't say failure, it sounds much more severe. A failing thyroid, it's called hypothyroidism. Hyperthyroidism is the opposite, but hypothyroidism can result in things like hair loss. It completely screws up your body's ability to process energy. It's your regulatory system. Right. So it's like tied into everything. So the more damaged your thyroid is, the less you can function as a person at all. I was just falling asleep, like practically narcoleptic, if you want to look at it that way. I fell asleep at work like 3 or 4 times, and the only reason I didn't get in massive trouble is because my boss knows what was going on and knew I was going through a rough time, and she's like, "Look, you got to get it fixed. That's all there is to it. You cannot do this again. I can't. There's nothing we can do." So I was like, eventually I was like, all right, I'm just gonna have to deal with it, which was good because according to the doctor, it was really bad. Like I've always heard a thyroid condition referenced as a fat joke, and that's it. So I had no idea it was nearly as serious, because apparently it can also affect your heart rate and stuff.
Oh God, yeah, it's pretty goddamn important.
Yeah,
I think
which
people
sucks.
need to get to the fucking doctor more often for that reason.
Yeah, but the doctor I went to first a couple years ago, this is part of the problem, is that going to an endocrinologist is extremely expensive.
Oh.
It cost me $160 just to go see an endocrinologist last month.
Bro,
and
I
so
had to
if
go
you're
to an
starting
ENT.
to go, you have to go like 4 or 5 times in the first year. So that's almost like, that's like what, $800, $900 in bills in the first year alone.
And that's with insurance, right?
Yeah, because of deductibles and stuff like that. It takes a while before you really get much of a discount or anything. Yeah, it's not fun.
I'm gonna give you a tip, and anyone else who wants to get good fucking healthcare, go work in an old folks' home. Holy fuck!
Supposedly medical government too.
Government is fucking, like, I don't know why, but like if you work in any industry where they're dealing with old people, children, or the government, it's like the insurance they got is just, it's skyrockets. Like, it's amazing. Now don't get me wrong, insurance, it shouldn't. The whole system's fucked with that whole thing. I'm for the first time I'm on my own actual insurance, and I got good corporate insurance. Like, I got the big money corporate insurance. It's not like the best, but it's cheap and it's good. I just went to a fucking ENT and it was $250. I'm like, are you shitting me? What? Yep. My doctor visits are like 50, 60, 70 bucks depending on what they do. I'm like, oh boy.
Just a checkup for me is like 20 or 30, I think. Like my insurance isn't terrible. It's just I got like a high deductible and stuff, so it takes a long time for me to get things paid down. But that sucks. Like, I know my dad's got an even worse situation. Apparently, like, he has to pay like $3,000 before the insurance covers anything.
Oh my god. The whole
and my mom's got cancer, so it's like every year.
The whole fucking system needs to be burned down to the ground. My father works in insurance, and I'm like, the amount of shit he says about the whole industry, I'm just like, dude, fucking scrap it, start from zero. The whole system's fucked.
We should save the topic of like medical bills and stuff like that for, like, we should go, like, move on to another topic and save that topic, because that could be
Yeah.
a whole episode by itself, talking about how that stuff reverberates through the entire economy.
So I will say one thing about it, and then I'll drop it for a later episode, because this is actually like a super philosophical topic and I want to do a video about, like a fucking 3-hour long video. I think living off minimum wage is a perfectly acceptable wage. Anyone can do it. And I don't think it's unreasonable to sit there and say, hey, maybe if you have a minimum wage, like, let me put it this way. I can buy a house on a minimum wage job. I did, kind of, to a certain extent. Like, you can live a fucking decent life on minimum wage. It's not great, but you can do it.
What's minimum wage where you are?
It's $10.40 right now where I am.
Yeah, see, it's like $9 here. And the cost of living here is like $50,000 a year for a husband and wife. Yeah, it's absolutely not possible in Jersey.
Okay, but see, here's the thing.
But to be fair, New Jersey has one of the highest cost of livings. Last I checked,
I've heard that too.
Because of per capita, because of the amount of people in the state, and the fact that we have beaches. Like we got such a weird situation here that it just works out to be super
That's the thing.
expensive.
I'm in New York, and I'm like, the thing that's a killer here is tax rates. I'm like, fucking tax rates insanely high too, and property values are really reasonable. But I'm like, shit, even property values can get kind of high in some places. But
I think a lot of it is because people from New York and from Philadelphia tend to live in Jersey but work in the city, because you can get your real good jobs in there, and then you live in the suburbs in another state. Like, it's a long commute, but then they have a much happier experience. And because all the money is in this state, it drives up the value. So I think that's one of the things that causes our cost of living to be so high, is because of the amount of high-end housing and stuff like that in certain areas, which is funny because you don't think of that when you think of Jersey. You think, oh, that's where they dump the trash from New York.
No, I agree 100%. I just wish there was like an easier way to do it in some cases, because like what always seems to fuck me up is that not many really popular cities or like suburban areas, just places where there's jobs, none of them never seem to be like near the state lines. They're always like dead center in the fucking state, so you can't escape the state. You have to work in the city or the depths of the city or the center of the state. It's such a weird thing. I'm like, there's so few areas where you can get away with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But no, the one thing I wanted to say is about this was that you can live off minimum wage, you can buy a house. It's not easy, but here's the thing: is that you can't live outside your means. I've hated this argument when people are saying raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. I'm like, do you know how many fucking jobs are gonna get displaced? I'll like, that's a whole entire rant. But like let me put it this way: it's like right now I'm making $15 an hour roughly, like above that. If like in 3 years' time they said, okay, minimum wage is now $15 an hour, I'm not staying at my fucking job. I'm quitting my fucking job and getting something less stressful, or I'm going to something else that pays me, $10 more an hour. I'm like, there's so many jobs that are going to be lost from people just being like, I can't afford to keep my staff. And then there's so many jobs that are going to be lost from people going, well, my cost of living expenses and being met at my current job, why the fuck am I going to stay here? I just go to the next place that's going to pay me more year after year. There are going to be so many job hopping people, it will fuck up the economy. I'm putting money on that.
Yeah, I think we should make that a whole episode by itself. Do that and the medical stuff in one episode. But yeah, I completely agree, and it's insane to me that there's so many politicians and stuff that say, it won't cause inflation. No, it'll definitely cause inflation. You freaking moron. There's no way to avoid it causing inflation, because some companies will have to retain people because there's going to be boycotts if they're firing people.
Oh yeah. And so, the only reason I bring it up is because of the medical thing. I'm like, the only exceptions that I feel to this whole minimum wage argument that I make is people who get medical problems. I'm like, I've seen the numbers. That debt can be crippling, and no fucking job can pay for that debt. And student loans, but to a certain extent, you signed up for a student loan. You didn't sign up for fucking cancer. Like, yeah. So there's exceptions there, but I've been getting really annoyed by it as of late. Anyway, let's go to something even more depressing, Hyojin. Oh, God. So, Okay, you know the updates because I just heard about the going to the hospital thing, and I don't know what's going on in that regard. So what happened, like, just in that part? She, like, checked herself into a mental hospital or something?
I haven't been following it that closely because I'm not making a video about it or anything, and I'm kind of detached from the whole thing. I just vaguely have been following the situation from like the I'm Alex coverage and all that. But from what I've read from Turkey Tom's posts and stuff, was that it was confirmed she went to a hospital, and I saw a couple people saying today it was mental hospital, not like she under a hold basically because she did threaten on Twitter apparently to kill herself. So at least that's my understanding, is that because she claimed she was going to kill herself, or made people concerned enough, someone called the police, and supposedly she's on
so they're
either on involuntary or maybe either involuntary. It might not be involuntary. I don't know. She might have gone on her own. I don't want to say anything definitively because I don't even have anybody. I don't have much of a connection to anybody that's even talking about it.
Right. I mean, to the fact that I don't really either. I'm like, this whole situation's really kind of out of the grasp of 20-plus-year-olds on the internet, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's people I'm connected to that are talking about it, but I've been dealing with all my own stuff, and I'm just kind of getting back into the swing of things. So I don't currently have any active, I'm not talking to anybody about it or anything like that. So I don't want to say anything definitive.
Well, if we don't want to go too far into that, at the very least, I do want your just 10-second opinion on the Slazo situation at the very least. And then I'll give mine, and then we'll move on to the kind of aftermath that's following this whole predicament.
Well, my hot take basically is there's a lot of actual evidence that has been presented. A lot of texts and context and stuff that has been presented from Slazo, and there hasn't really been anything rebuking any of it from anybody on the other side of the camp. So that to me is kind of telling. That there's got to be at least some truth to how his side of the story is coming together, because otherwise, why would they not? Why would these people like Alex and all that? Why would this group of people, of all people, not try and come back with debunking his statements? It doesn't make sense. If he was lying and making stuff up, then why would they not try and debunk it? They would. They totally would, and they're not.
They would present something as the
They've
answer.
Just gone silent, and most of them, from what I've seen, most of the ones I know of that were involved that I've seen say things was, well, I never said rape. I never said anything. I just supported a friend who was accusing someone. It's nonsense. And then now people are saying, well, no one ever said rape. No, it was what was described was essentially rape. It was
definition of sexual assault rape.
It was very much not just well, he was aggressively flirting with me. No. It was just the way it was described was very much beyond that.
And the Andy Signore thing, it's just described in the worst possible way, but when you find the evidence that's presented, I'll say that much, it's this just sounds kind of like two people romantically involved playing a little up with each other.
And the Andy thing, I wasn't really following it when it happened.
I didn't either.
And I don't know. I mean, I have a hard time believing that given the people that I'm seeing going through all this information, right, and talking about it. I started watching Tommy's stream today, and I didn't have a chance to finish watching it, unfortunately. But from everything I did see, it seems pretty concrete, and there was a settlement, not a what do you call it?
A judgment,
there wasn't really a judgment, but
so
I feel like if it was really so open, I mean, I feel like now there's just doubt out there for me. There's a lot. I'm more in his favor a little bit here because there's something seems off based on the message. There's an awful lot of messages, and they don't like text messages, so they couldn't have been photoshopped. It looks like it was a log that he got from somewhere, went to the
the story,
Verizon or whatever, and got the actual log,
which they usually do for
would
like court
be easily
cases.
debunkable, which would be easily debunkable.
So I gotta weigh in here because I do have a bias. I want to make it very clear. We talked about it very briefly before. Like I'm biased in this situation. So like my story is like, so I got a buddy who he was dating a girl, little nutty, little odd. I'm not gonna name drop anybody, of course, but little nutty girl, and they broke up because it's one of those things where you're like, you don't date somebody for a long time and you're excited to be in a relationship and you're like, oh, this isn't really kind of what I'm interested in. This thing ain't working, right? So you broke up, and then like several months later, one of the friends came up and goes, hey, you know, she's spreading allegations that you raped her, right? He's like, what? So he comes to me, you know, talks to me. He's like, she's making these claims. I'm like, go to the police. Without even the context or the situation or anything. The first thing I said to my friend was I looked him in the eyes and said, go and get a log of every conversation, of every interaction, of every little thing, and go to the police and say, hey, I don't want to file a police report or anything like that. I just want this to be on record just in case anything pops up. Yeah. That should be the first, second, last thing you do. And so going back to the Slazo thing, before we do jump on Signore, because I do have an opinion on that, like a pretty heavy one. Mm-hmm. My 10-second Slazo take is just basically, I'm like, there seems to be a problem with these young people, and that really just kind of comes down to is communication. Young people don't know how to say what they're feeling, what they're really meaning. So if you look at all of those messages that Che said, it very clear she knew what she was saying. She knew what she was communicating to Slazo. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The both of them knew what they were saying to one another. However, the one context I give credence to is the fact that both of them don't seem to know how to have a goddamn conversation. But like when you read like, oh, like they're interested in each other and something like that, I'm like, you both know what you're doing. So from my personal bias, when you turn around and you break up and then you say, oh, well, I didn't actually want that, or I was being coerced or something like that, I'm quick to call bullshit. I'm like, if you knew and you were all hot and bothered in the moments between one another, the both of you, I'm not even pointing fingers, I'm saying the both of you, you don't really, in my opinion, get to turn around 3 months later and be like, oh, that wasn't flirtatious, that was forced, that was coerced. I'm like, no, fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's garbage.
As for all the people jumping on board, I will save that for another time. I'm not going to talk about that because I chatted with many of those people during VidCon. I am kind of a greaseball sleazebag, and I thought to myself, I'm like, you know, if these people were willing to throw their friend under the bus to try to, like, you know, get some clout or some money, maybe they'd be wanting to work with me on some business endeavors. That being said, I will still say this to any of their face if they ask me.
I do not support the actions.
No, I fully am of belief. I'm like, I can't convince people. Like, I know Cabos just chewed my ass out for this one a couple of weeks ago. But I'm like, it took me forever to convince Cabos to try doing a podcast. And I'm like, it took me months to do that. If I could just find somebody that's like, oh, I'm just seeing dollar signs, I'm throwing my friends under the bus for dollar signs, I'm like, I want to work with that person right now. I want one fucking client to do my stuff and then have them be my proof of concept. Like, oh, I worked with this sleazebag over here, but you're not a sleazebag. Do you want to work like closer? Come on. Like, so I threw my business cards their way, but if any one of them has a complaint, I'll tell them what my fucking opinion is right to their face. I don't give a shit who you are. I got opinions. I don't hide them. I don't give a shit. Anyway, that being said, personal biases aside, why the fuck is Annie Signore, or what was the one that Annie Signore cheated on? What was her name?
The girl that he cheated with was April something.
April. Why the fuck are April and Chloe Dijkstra still online? Delete your fucking social medias. Get off the fucking internet. Look. I get it. I'm a level with you here. Being broken up sucks. You know, thinking you're wanted, thinking you got some clout, you're getting some money, maybe you might get some fame. You know, it's attractive. It's real sexy. It's fucking, I'm gonna fuck that guy and get that fucking clout, get that fucking money. You have text messages that showed you were a thirsty little bitch. The both of them. Just those two. Not women in general, just those two. You don't belong on the internet anymore. You're done. Why do you both have jobs doing things on the internet? You're fucking kidding me. It's one thing for children. Like the Slazo and Shay situation, I'm like, they're kids. They're kids in my eyes. I'm gonna give them second chances. I'm gonna give them third chances. 20 and 30-year-old adults who actively make claims that fucking destroy people's lives, you're done to me. I don't take back the friends who fucking punched me in the face and stole money from me. Why would I ever allow somebody who made false rape allegations, who made claims that are improvable text messages? Why are they allowed to still be on the internet? Why? I'm gonna lose my shit on this one because I'm like, look. I've had my share of experiences where, like, I lose my temper, I get my shit flipped off a little bit, but something kind of cools me off and brings me back to earth. I don't know how in this day and age of the internet we've reached this era and pinnacle where you can destroy somebody's entire career. You can be Tati and be fucking butthurt that some gay boy didn't actually promote your product. That fucking James Charles, you make accusations that he threatened to kind of force the waiter to suck his dick. Which, by the way, I'm still kind of the belief that maybe he did something like that, but still kind of a maybe playful attitude. But you get butthurt because he doesn't promote your product. Why are you still on the internet? Why are you still here? Get off. You're done. You can't be trusted. Nobody should associate with you. You've been proven to actively lie, slander, libel, destroy the reputation, the profitability of other people. Why are you still here? You're done. Get out. That's the end of my rant. I'm like, I can't.
Well, I actually, real quick, there's something, like I said, I wanted to mention one thing before we wrap up anyway. It kind of goes hand in hand with that. The YouTube creator on creator harassment and YouTube censoring comment sections, where on mobile now you get a little header above the comment section reminding you to be polite and kind and courteous and oh so fluffy bunny.
Oh my god.
So I'm pretty sure, like I said, I want to keep this brief, but I'm pretty sure that the reason that the creator harassment guidelines thing was that in the statement was laid out basically seems to allude to me to off-platform behavior, because they say you don't have to violate the terms of service or anything. The way it's worded looks to me like it also applies to things like the iMalex situation, where now people are going after iMalex because they never corrected the story that they reported to their audiences about Slazo, and now they've had people going after them for weeks now, somewhat fairly, I would say, to get them to correct the story. Actually, I would say fairly. A lot of people are taking it too far is the issue. Now, if YouTube feels that it's not right how people are behaving against iMalex or iMalex against Slazo, off-platform even, they can, if they feel that they don't want that person representing their platform anymore, taking them off the platform because of what they've done off-platform. This policy now enables them to do that, but also does make it more widespread. So, like, if you don't necessarily violate the rules, they can take more action if they want to. A lot of people seem to have interpreted the creator versus creator thing as, well, criticism is gone entirely. And I don't think that's what it is, because you couldn't really automate the system to basically stop that. Is what I think it is. I think it's mostly because, and here's the thing, I don't think iMalex and Slazo situation has anything to do with it.
No.
Notice that this is coming into play just 2.5 months after James Charles lost 3 million subscribers in 24 hours.
Oh yeah, and YouTube takes a hit from that, so they're like, we got to change it because we lost money.
Yes, exactly. I am fairly confident that it was not the the Steven Crowder situation, which a lot of people think was responsible for this. I think that helps YouTube's desire to do this, but I think this whole thing started being put into motion with the James Charles situation, because that was such a ridiculous catastrophe that happened between all these different channels. And then a few weeks later, they're like, oh, my bad. And then they all try and go about their merry way and pretend nothing ever happened. But now all these videos and knowledge exists of this whole drama that happened where a bunch of friends essentially had digital knives at each other's throats. And I think this is the kind of stuff that this is really aimed at. Not creators that are criticizing other creators for being bad people, but more like these giant expose videos where you're trying to destroy someone's career. That kind of thing, I think, is what they're trying to get out in front of. I could be wrong, but all evidence to me points to this, because every single time that we think something major is going to just destroy the platform, we're always wrong, right? We're always assuming the worst, because YouTube does have a tendency to screw the creators a little bit. But the same audience primarily has been complaining about the copyright issues and all that. The main audience that's been doing that is the commentary community, the ones that would be kicked off the platform doing this.
Oh yeah.
You couldn't automate this, because any creator giving a shout out, the system would pick up as talking about another creator. Like, there's so many holes in the idea that this would be a massive, like, wide sweeping annihilation of channels that it's insane. Now, I can understand people like Tommy and Nick Diorio, Tommy C and Nick Diorio. I can understand why they might be a little concerned, because they are very aggressive in their delivery. So there's more chance that they would fall under like a more of a harassment guideline that YouTube would set out. But the general commentator, just don't call people pedos as frequently. Don't go looking for pedos. So if you find them, go ahead, expose that.
This is kind of a two-front thing.
Don't start looking to expose people for things that you have very flimsy evidence, like thumbnails. Oh, your thumbnails have kids in them, so you're a pedo. No.
What are you defending? Just Destiny?
Stop doing. No. No. I was more like going after a couple people I know have made really, really lousy, clickbaity exposed videos over absolutely nothing, and started small little tiny wars for absolutely no good reason. But yeah, like just common sense. Just don't start making up allegations based on really thin, flimsy evidence to try and get people on your, to try and get people to click on your video, because you can't think of anything creative or interesting to do.
So, and kind of going on that note for a second, I think that's kind of the reason I have such a fucking at odds with Diorio. Is like, don't get me wrong. I'm like, I think Diorio is one of the few actual people that somehow is getting it right. He's doing it consistently, and he's somehow managing to get it right. Where he's got pretty harsh opinions, but he's not. There's barely any, if any, innocent bystanders with Diorio, and I'm thoroughly impressed by that.
And he's not afraid to admit he screwed up if he does, which has been very rare that he's taken something too far or gotten a story wrong.
But even him, I feel like he needs to shut the fuck up too at times. Like, I'm gonna say it straight up. I'm like, Diorio, you ain't a psychologist. You're not a fucking mind reader. You don't know these things. I think the way he's able to provoke people, like, here's something that I gotta give him props, because I can't do this. He's amazing at it compared to me, which is he knows how to antagonize you so that you'll keep giving him more. And he's not gonna push you to the point where you just block him and shut him down and that's it. It's the end of the conversation. But he can just, he's got a talent where he knows how to poke you, so you give him more. He backs off a little bit, then he pokes you a little bit more, so you just keep feeding him stuff. I'm thoroughly impressed by it, but I'm like, even he goes too far. You people aren't psychologists. You people don't know psychoanalysts. Wow, I fucking suck it. You don't know psychoanalysis. Thank you. You need to back off, because somebody's gonna be a bystander. I'm like even Hyojin's an example. As much as I think fuck her to a certain extent, like her checking herself into a mental hospital is a very good move. Yes. But the fact that she had to go there in the first place.
Oh my word. I was literally telling someone last night that said almost that exact same to me. Dude, that is way too harsh a way to put that. It's too soon.
What do you mean?
Like somebody I know literally said, I hope she doesn't die, but F her. That you just said that.
Oh my god. No.
I know that's not how you mean for it to come out, but holy crap, it's just so weird hearing that twice in 24 hours.
I mean, I'm not sitting there and saying, oh, she was intending on killing herself. I don't really, for the most part, have a stake in that. But here's the let me put it this way. I think it's self-prescribed to a certain point, where you decide how much information you want to let in and you want to let out. But I think Diorio's impressive at getting people to let out more information than they really intended to. But here's the thing. You know, all anybody really had to ever do it when this Slazo thing kind of happened was shut the fuck up and just not say anything. You literally, if every single person who made those allegations at Slazo just didn't say anything, this would have blown over in 2 weeks. But one person opened their mouth, and then 2 people opened their mouth, and then 3 people opened their mouth, and then Diorio gets involved, and then 7 people open their mouth, and then 13 people, and it just keeps snowballing.
Nah, Diorio's been kind of on top of Alex since he originally released the video. I believe Diorio, I could be wrong, but I could have swore Diorio said at one point that he had DM'd Slazo.
I'm being a little metaphorical, but yes, what I'm saying is, like, if everyone had just stopped talking, it would have just blown under the rug. Because there's plenty of other shit going on right now, drama-wise.
Well,
I'm like, and
Alex wasn't really talking about it, and Diorio stayed on top of him. I mean, I think I've said it before. I think Diorio and Tommy both do this. I think they both have a tendency, whether it be a good thing or a bad. I think in some cases it's a very good thing. In some cases it's a very bad thing. They both have a tendency to get stuck on one thing.
Yeah.
And kind of they start spinning their wheels. Nick tends to end up finding traction and finding more, like gaining more ground on something. But Nick is a really smart guy. Tommy has a lot of it's entertainment value. I'm trying to find the right way to say it. They're both very good at finding a topic that's entertaining, right? And that's what I'm saying. It's like they do kind of get stuck at a certain point,
right?
And then for some reason it just becomes kind of hard to move on. I understand with this situation in particular, especially though, because it's such a serious thing. And I know a lot of people that have, like, I've seen so many people, I can't remember if either one of them was or not, but I've seen so many people, because of the situation, talking about friends of theirs that have had false accusations against them, and they ended up, like, losing a job or something because of it. So when there's so many cases of that, like, I can understand why this would be a little bit more serious to them, especially when you have somebody who's just done it to James Charles a few months ago as well. So this time in particular, I understand it, but I've seen kind of a little bit of a pattern with that.
Well, I feel like to a certain extent that comes back to cancel culture, because kind of going back with the YouTube comment thing, it's like right now the flavor of the month is people like getting these imaginary points, like we dunked on you, poof, another point for me, bitch. Like, and it at some point you realize you're gonna go insane. You can only do the same thing over and over and over again before you realize, oh shit, all of the people we keep dunking on, owning, and canceling apparently aren't that bad, or they turned out to be completely innocent or something like that, to the point where it's like, what did you win? What did you win? You didn't get anything out of this. Slazo was completely innocent this whole fucking time, and Signore was completely innocent this whole time. Oh look, we lost however millions of subscribers from James, Charles, and Toddy. Oh look, everyone's losing. Nobody's winning in these circumstances. Nobody's careers are being built from this stuff. It's all just shit flinging amongst each other because the dollars are drying up. Maybe they're not making as much money, so you got to do something to get the $5 more because you can't make it as profitable, and everyone is losing. And I don't know how anybody else doesn't see this way. Like,
yeah, just wait till the end of the year when all of these happened this year, and then they go and recant everything from Matt's What It Is all the way up through whatever the last scandal was happening. Just imagine how many of these
it's going to be every fucking 3 days.
Listed. Yeah, it's gonna be like there's like one every 2 months. There's a false accusation that ends up getting debunked because like even Just Destiny to an extent was, I mean, like he did some messed up stuff, but then all these other like allegations of like bad acting behavior started coming out, and then there was the whole crusade that Keem led to try to try and prove there was something else nefarious going on. Like, so if you count that and everything else, like there's so many of these situations this year where somebody pursued something well beyond where they should have gone with it, and it's created this massive thing.
You know what I'm gonna say?
It's scary.
It's all Keem. He's fucking been behind the whole fucking thing. You know, you left. I'm not joking. I think fucking Keem's pulled the strings on a lot of this shit. Call me conspiracy here. I'm putting my fucking tinfoil hat on. I said this shit 4 fucking years ago with the whole atheist / anti-SJW YouTubers. If you really watch how those things happen and how everything played out through the years, Keem was a huge fucking part of that. Mr. Medicare was also a huge part of that. It's these people who are like, we can drum up some extra shit here. We get a couple extra bucks. We can also do some shit here. And it's people who have so much money, they're bored. You'd be surprised how many people are involved with shit like that. Now, granted, I think the kind of fake Me Too stuff going on right now, like the Andy Signore, like specifically like Andy Signore, for example, I don't think there's a puppet master behind that, but I'm like, I don't know. Who was the most recent getting canceled before James Charles? Like, I'm trying to think.
I can't remember. There's been like 4. Like, it was like James Charles, Slazo, and then Andy Signore now. And I think there was a couple other ones in there. Because it's so frequent. I can only remember a couple at a time.
I think it might have been like those like pedophile YouTuber ones, like the ones who ran kid channels, and they were all like really, really kind of fucked up. Like, I'm trying to think what they were called, like the 7-something family. Like, it was kind of those channels, I think.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Where it's basically
it almost sounds like a combination of a bunch of different things. Because there was like Family of 5, which is abuse a couple years ago.
Right. Well, that was a couple years ago. I meant like just kind of a couple months before. But like,
okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with that one then.
But I'm like, you know, if you watch how these things kind of happen, it seems like one thing gets fed to Keem, and then there's kind of a whole narrative that runs. And then every other YouTuber starts picking up on it. It's kind of like when H3U used to be like, oh, H3 talked about this, I have to make a video obviously following that up because that's where the train is right now. Yeah. Like 4 years ago when he was popping off.
Right.
Yeah. Conspiracy
aside.
Oh,
you know what, actually? I guess the big cancel before James Charles was also James Charles. Because remember, it wasn't a sexual thing, but it was the tickets.
Oh yeah,
the backstage ticket
thing.
passes, that whole thing, which is that whole thing was ridiculous.
Fucking people, man! Oh my god.
Yeah, that was the whole thing that Kavos started talking about the ticket prices.
Yeah,
and then everybody started running with that.
Oh my god! How can you charge so much money? They were sold out, if I recall. So how the fuck was he charging that little?
Yeah, well, I mean, not to mention, it's funny because like it's a standard practice to charge for like behind the scenes like VIP passes and things like that. Like, it's not.
Don't get me wrong.
A new concept.
Don't get me wrong. I know for a fucking fact that those people wouldn't have been able to deliver a $500 worth of experience, but you know, if you got the money, you're fucking pay for it. Okay?
I think it was mostly for like the gift basket you got. Because you were getting gifts with each one of those tier packages.
Well, yeah, but
so like they were getting like a gift basket full of different things, and there was like
nobody's paying $500 for the gift basket though. They're paying for like the one-on-one.
No, but it is a combination. I think a lot of it is because like you would get like you were getting an equivalent of a bunch of different things. So it was basically you're buying objects that you're going to get directly from him. He's going to hand it to you.
Well,
and you get to meet him.
Well, not. But like, here's the thing. Like, remember TanaCon, that whole ordeal? Like, those whole gift basket things. I'm like, shit, man. They said, oh, it's got over like $100 worth of stuff in it. But like, if you really do the breakdown, it's like there's only like $3 to $10 worth of shit in it. So I'm like, that price hike is such nonsense in my opinion. Oh yeah, it's at retail $250 worth of stuff, but it only costs us $20 to make it.
I saw the list of stuff, and it seems like it was definitely not like just a couple of knickknacks.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it seemed like, I mean, given the stuff that was in there, it would have been like expensive stuff that was overpriced, yes, but it wasn't like overpriced because he was like just saying it's worth a bunch of money. It was like, oh, this thing is $99. This is part of the $500 package. That's $100 of your $500. Like that's like it seemed to make sense when I looked at it, based on what I estimate from what I do know. And there, like I said, there was like you got to go like there was different aspects to them. It wasn't just because I think there was like even snacks and stuff that you were gonna get if you went backstage and stuff. So I mean, like it was more to it than just you get a gift basket, yay, you get a little cheese plate.
Right. It definitely did seem like a decent amount then, if that was the case.
Yeah, there was a pretty large amount of stuff, and it was funny because when Kavos made his video, when he made his video about it, he actually pretty much said he had no idea. I don't know if it was in the video or in one of the tweets, but around the same time, he said he basically that he didn't know at the time what was going to be involved with the packages, which I thought was funny because you can't know the value of something. You can't say there's no value to it without knowing what's in the package. So
yeah,
I thought it was a little bit ridiculous.
It was definitely out there, and I thought that was beyond silly. I don't think that was necessarily cancel culture, but that was definitely I remember that narrative going.
People, the amount of people. Well, I'm saying it's like this. It's the same kind of concept though. Like he was saying, like this is a horrible thing. I can't believe he's doing this. Blah blah blah. And then all these creators started copying it and running with the same story and doing the exact same thing and saying this is ridiculous. He's overcharging. He's taking advantage of his young fans. Yeah,
I think for the most part, I think that was kind of an interesting ordeal just in and of itself. I think tours are kind of an important thing this day and age for YouTubers, but like, I don't know. I think of just somebody like James Charles for the most part, and I'm like, you aren't interesting. I'm just saying it like kind of flat out. You're not interesting. You're not a comedian. You're not like a pro gamer. You're not somebody who's exceptional at storytelling. You're just kind of hyperactive and you're pretty good at styling. So you have like a talent. But like, I have to work, and I think of this one thing. I watched I went to go see Ralphie May live when he was doing stand up when he was alive.
R.I.P.
Yeah, fucking respect. That was my fucking favorite comedian, man. And I just remember him walking on stage, and this was like my second or third time ever going to see a stand-up show. Might have even been my first. I can't quite remember. And he comes up on stage and he goes, "You guys work for $10. You know, you work an hour for $10. So I figure if I'm gonna sell my tickets for $20, I might as well give you 2 hours of comedy, 2 whole fucking hours, nonstop." And I was just sitting there like, I love this guy. I loved him before he came in. I love him even more. These YouTubers who make these shows, I'm like, don't get me wrong. I understand having like private Q&A sessions and being like, I'm going to give you an experience of spending time with me, and I'm dedicating my time and my energy and my focus to you. But like, I couldn't imagine working for an entire week of my life. Even right now, I have to work for 6 days to go and meet you and probably get a fucking 20-minute nicety show. I'm like, for that much money, bitch, I better be with you all fucking day in the limo. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine trying to sell that to kids either. It just seems so disingenuous to me. It really does. I don't mock the hustle. I really don't. But I can't justify it. Speaking of, on that note, I mean, I think we should kind of wrap up here. Your whole comment section debacle, we'll revisit that one at the very least, because I'm like, I've got pretty rude opinions about the internet in general. But real quick, when would you say was the first year you started actually being on the internet or using the internet? Not like social media, just like like for me, I think it was like when I was 12, like 10 maybe years old, 12, roughly that age. And
I would have to say probably, I'm 29 now, and it was, I think, 9th and 10th grade. I was going to an online school, and that was around the time that I was starting to really learn about the internet more and more.
Online
not really prior to that. Yeah, it was online homeschool.
Oh, okay.
Which works sometimes in some cases, but the curriculum was too advanced for me. And that you're supposed to, I think you're supposed to work with your kids still when you're doing that, and my parents didn't understand that, so they weren't really prepared to still have to help me with things. They thought it was like an all-in-one thing, but like there was full pieces, like in math there was full things of like equations that they were not explaining. So they'd like, all right, so here's how you start the equation and here's how you finish it, figure out the middle. Like, it didn't make any sense. So like, it threw me off. But anyway, yeah, so it was around what would that be, like 15, 16, 17, somewhere around there, which would have been around 2005, 2006, 2007.
Like, that doesn't sound too off. How old are you again?
I'm 29.
Oh, so you're older than me. That seems weird.
I was homeschooled though, and my parents were religious. So and here's the thing, my mom also dealt with a bit of an addiction for many years to like chat rooms and stuff like that. So the one computer in our house was kind of occupied fairly frequently.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, I'm like, I remember being on the internet pretty religiously in the like '99.
Yeah, my parents were a little bit more reserved with that. I mean, I was allowed to go on there to like do research for schoolwork or whatever. Or look up a couple different things, but
I was raised fucking horribly in that sense. Okay, I'm gonna teach you something to never do with your fucking child. What my parents did was they said, you can't use any computer, any television, any online access whatsoever Monday to Friday until Friday after you get out of school. No computer, no electronic stimulation. And let me tell you, if you want to make a fucking addict, do it that way. That is how I became. So I literally fucking flunked my first year at college because that was the first year I was able to just be on my computer whenever I wanted to. What did I do? Played fucking video games for 18 hours a fucking day. You think I'm joking? I fucking did. Halo 3, that's why I was so fucking amazing at that game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I plan to be kind of like my parents were actually with that for the most part, where the kid's gonna have like a half hour a day that he can play games or whatever. Like, there's gonna be a time. I don't know exactly what yet. We haven't actually looked into that yet. He's only a year and a half old.
Right.
But that's the general concept we're gonna follow. Is like he's gonna have a time limit, and we'll probably do like a reward system where he can gain or lose time for behavior and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good idea. I think just limiting time and the exposure it's just really good for the most part.
Yeah.
Banning anything outright is just terrible. You know what the weirdest thing was? I have no interest in alcohol, but every single person that I ever grew up with was like the fastest to be the first underage drinker. Like, oh God, I have to drink. And I'm like, my parents, I thought about it, I'm like, my parents never once like preached about alcohol to me. Like, they weren't like anti-alcohol. They just kind of assumed like, yeah, just don't drink. You should know that. Just we're not gonna sit there and monitor you. Just don't do it. And then I remember like the one time my brother like snuck some rum or something like that. They put us both in the living room and they're like, all right, who drank the rum? And Aiden kind of, fessed up a little bit. But like, for the most part, it was like, they didn't pressure me. They didn't bring it up. And the one time I drank, when I was underage, I was like, yeah, this sucks. I just end up throwing up on the floor and the taste of it's kind of shit. I guess I'll just drink a little bit passively when I'm an adult. And now I drink like once every 3 months or so.
Yeah.
It's you just don't fucking tell people they can't do things and they'll lose interest in them naturally.
I mean, if you tell them not to do things, it's different than like demonizing something. I had things demonized for me, like alcohol, when I was growing up, and my parents didn't realize they were doing it. And they drank alcohol, but they drank it very limited, and they drank it very rarely. They would drink just a little bit of wine on date nights and stuff that they would go, and that's about it. But they didn't realize that the way they were talking about it made it sound like it was something way more serious, and you don't touch this, and yeah, they didn't realize the effect that they were having on me. When it comes to that. So I always kind of grew up kind of overly concerned about alcohol. But yeah, I mean, I was also raised in a very unique environment, so.
Speaking of that, Guess what else I did in California?
Smoked weed.
Smoked the devil's lettuce. I got a complaint. I'm a goody goody two shoes. I never smoked weed. I don't really drink underage. It wasn't really a thing.
Oh, that was really it? I was kidding.
No, I smoked weed. I was there. I fucking toked up. So
I figured that. I just didn't figure that was going to be it. That's all.
Oh. No, I'm a surprising fucking goody goody two shoes. I don't know why I'm like this in some cases, but I'm one of those people that's like, dude, if it takes me fucking 3/4 of a bottle of Jack Daniels or fucking $80 worth of weed to get me to not feel, I'm fine with living life. I like whenever I hear like Doug Stanhope sit there and be like, it fucking sucks being sober. I'm like, bruh, I can't fucking drink enough calories and fucking sit there and just keep chugging and chugging and chugging to numb myself. I'm like, it takes too much effort. I'd rather just be sober. But so I'm pissed off. I got some edibles because that was what I figured. Because girlfriend can't smoke to save her fucking life. Like the second she takes a puff of like a vape, she's like, ah! Like it's death. So I got these strong ass gummy edibles that were like, they have like milligram dosages on them. So like an entire pack of this stuff's like 640 milligrams. And that's supposed to be kind of middle of the ground. Because for the most part I saw like, oh, like, you know, some people can feel the effects of marijuana at something as little as 1 milligram. And some people need as high as 2,000 milligrams. I'm like, okay, well this is a good like beginner level. So I said, okay, gonna eat the gummy. I'm gonna start with one gummy. Because then it was like 10 of them, so it was 640 milligrams, so 164 milligrams. I'm like, that's perfect. Didn't feel a fucking thing. So the next day, I'm like, okay, I didn't feel anything, so I'm going 2.5 gummies. Didn't feel shit. So the last day, I dropped 3 gummies, and I'm like, come on. The most I felt was like, I don't feel like I'm fully balanced. Like, I feel like I'm a little wobbly. Like, not even though. Like, oh, I should just keep an eye on where I'm walking is all. That's it. That's all I felt. But then, I got these little chocolates. These little fudgies that have, like, there's, like, sleep ones that help you get to sleep, and then there's, like, insomnia ones that are supposed to help you, like, stay asleep. Now, these little fudgies only had 9 milligrams of THC. Like, real low amount. And then they're supposed to be, like, laced with, like, the stuff that's supposed to help you keep asleep. I took one of those the first day. Didn't feel a fucking thing. So now I'm pissed. I'm like, I've taken these fucking gummies, and now I'm taking these fudges. Why am I not feeling shit? So the next day, I take 2 fucking fudgies. Oh boy, my fucking heart, man. My fucking heart had this little, like, what the fuck is going on right now? So literally, here's what happened. You ever been on a ship and it feels like it's waving and it's bobbing back and forth and shit like that?
Kinda.
Okay, like just imagine being on a boat and it's just kind of like, or even a rowboat, something small, and it's just bobbing back and forth. So I'm laying in bed after 2 of these fucking fudgies, only 18 milligrams of THC. I'm laying there like, I'm gonna fall off the bed. I'm gonna fall off the fucking, like, if I lean my head to the right, I was falling off the bed. If I lean my head off to the left, I'm falling into the bed. What the fuck is going on? Like, the room was starting to spin a little bit. I'm like, it wasn't a bad trip. It wasn't like I sat there and overdosed myself, but I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is up with the weed there, but I'm like, it was fucking weird. And then that was my only real trip of the whole experience. And then they gave you a free joint for buying some shit with them for like spending over like $80 or something like that. And smoked the joint, and I didn't feel a fucking thing. So I'm like, I'm calling some fucking bullshit on this California weed, where I don't end up feeling a goddamn thing. I want some fucking money back from this shit.
Yeah.
And that's my weed experience from California. So
I don't have any weird experiences except for standing by while friends of mine smoked.
Yeah, I just think it's not a fat guy thing. I think like psychedelics, alcohol, and that shit, you can't enjoy them while you're fat. Like, the fat absorbs all the fun out of it, and it just becomes, like, nightmarish.
Oh, I just don't have interest in it. Like, I don't even drink to get drunk. I just drink because I like the extra flavor sometimes in my drinks. The strength of it. So, I don't know, there's something interesting about it.
I want the escapism. I don't know. I've seen too many people where they're like, oh man, it feels so good. I feel like relaxed. I feel like I can be myself. I'm like, I want to see that. I want to be that. And the only time I ever got drunk, well, the first time I got drunk, I turned into I fucking love you, man. You're so cool. You're like my best. Oh, God, give me a hug, man. You're like my best fucking friend. And I'm just like, I like that. That was silly, but I ended up vomiting on a floor, so I'm good. I don't need to do that again. I don't want to clean my fucking puke up.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that one.
On that note, though,
smell alone of puke.
Hashtag fuck VidCon. That shit sucked. Go with your friends. Have fun with your friends, not go to VidCon to go to VidCon. That convention's a fucking trip, man.
Yeah, I would. If I was to go, I'd go once. Like, I'd go like for the whole weekend or whatever. Go to the convention one day, maybe stand outside the next, and just watch people walk in and out. Like, oh, hey, there's what's his name. Just play bingo. Just play bingo. Just get like the commentators you think are going to be there. Everybody sets the cards up differently, and you play creator bingo with like 3 friends. Just sit there all day, play creator bingo.
That doesn't sound terrible, honestly. That
would actually be a really funny video to do. Sorry, my headphones came out, but that would actually be a really funny video. I might actually have to do that now. If I go next year or something, I might have to do that. Like, actually get bingo cards made up and then make a video of me and 3 people or something standing outside just playing creator bingo.
So here's what we're gonna do next year. I'm gonna do my YouTube shit for the next year. I'm gonna make enough money to get both of us tickets and fly out that way. We're gonna fucking do it. We're gonna go and we're gonna fucking crash VidCon. Let's do this shit.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Why not?
I'd be down. I'm being serious. I'm like, if anything, I'm being joking with VidCon. I'm like,
hashtag Goodly Gang.
Googly Gang?
Goodly Gang.
I was like, Googly. I'm like, Google. We're gonna be Googlers. Yeah. No, we'll crash that shit. We'll fucking go in and just straight up troll up on fucking creators walking up. No, I am legit pissed though. I miss so many fucking creators that I know, and I'm so mad. But that's a story for a different time. Anyway, on that note, we should end the show here now. I do want your opinion, and anybody who is somehow still listening. Do you think we should just do these shows live? Just start putting them up live and just be like, fuck it, we'll just talk live and then just put them up on the other platforms later?
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't be against it. The problem is having a consistent start time, which would be difficult.
Yeah, I think that would be the biggest killer, but I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, if you see like the Augie guys doing it and everyone's just kind of having fun with it, why not? I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, it's true. I guess to an extent we could always like when we figure out what we're going to do, and then just make a thumbnail and do kind of like what Tommy C does. I mean, usually he has a set time, but like you just put up a thumbnail and schedule it for when you're planning to go live or whatever.
Fuck it, we'll chill out. We'll get every big YouTuber to come on as a guest host, and once we start getting like 10, 20 viewers, we'll start putting a schedule up. Fuck it.
Yeah.
We'll chill out, Goodly. Speaking Goodly. All right. On that note, I am out. I'm fucking burning up in this fucking room. This shit is a sweat box and I'm fucking dying. I can't have the AC on while we're recording. I'm like, oh, fuck my life, man.
Yeah, my audio is going to be a little weak.